Welcome to Meet Me in the City, a podcast exploring music through the boroughs of America. Joined as always by my friends and co-hosts Dan and Shawn. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
I am finer than frog hair.
Don't know what that means.
I'm doing just as well as that.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means
You
either.
guys are ridiculous. I asked him the same question at the beginning every time, and Dan's always got something interesting.
Clever.
You got to keep it going, man. That's it.
That I've never heard finer than frog hair.
We haven't.
It's an old Appalachian term.
Oh, it's nice. I like it. I always just say I'm in pretty good shape for the shape I'm in.
Ooh,
Oh,
that's a
nice.
nice one.
That's good.
Yeah.
Might have to steal that at some point.
Yeah, and that voice you just heard is our guest on this episode. You may know him from, just a ton of projects: Government Issue, Jawbox, Burning Airlines, Channels, Office of Future Plans, and has most recently released in the last several years a couple of solo records under his name, in addition to all kinds of other stuff, studio work and producing. And welcome to the podcast, Jay Robbins. Jay, how you doing?
Hi, I'm in pretty good shape for the shape I'm in. No, I'm good.
Nice.
Good.
It's great to have you on. Thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it.
We just
I wish you guys weren't blurry.
That's all right. We'll send you a photo later.
Delete it if you want.
yeah.
Right.
We'll see how this goes. We're having a little bit of latency issues, it looks like, on our end too. So yeah, we have a thunderstorm here locally, so I don't know if that's playing with technology, but we'll power through and see what we can get through.
Yeah.
Jay, we just want to begin where we do with most of our guests, and just your sort of life is documented in many ways in the area you came out of playing music. But where are you from originally?
I grew up in the suburbs of Washington D.C. in Silver Spring, Maryland.
Oh,
So
wow.
I mean, really like right outside D.C.
Okay.
When
Yeah, and I mean,
when did you start getting into music? Was there a big music scene in that area?
well, Silver Spring, I mean, it basically was the DC scene. I mean,
Gotcha.
that's, there were, I mean, I was always into music. I was never into, I had very specific nerd interests as a young person. Was super into film, especially weird films, sci-fi, horror, films of Orson Welles, anything that was like, I was like an art kid.
You're getting
And
sprinkle excited over here.
Well, one thing I wasn't interested in particularly was rock and roll, because rock and roll was the music of kids that wanted to beat me up. So
Yeah.
Wow.
it's like I was super into film music, and that led me to be interested in all the kind of music that film composers would rip off. So I got really into like Stravinsky, Bartok, kind of 20th century, late 19th century orchestra music. I mean, kind of pretty much anything apart from rock and roll. And I was like, spent a lot of time and energy making visual art and making little like claymation movies and stuff. And then I got into an art magnet program when I was in high school, where I got to spend half of my day, like 3 days a week, we got to spend half the day in an art class.
Okay.
That's where I met a really like core group. That's where I kind of met my people. And we didn't initially connect about music. We connected about all the other stuff, like weird art and movies and comic books and that kind of stuff.
Mm.
And all those kids were punks, and they kind of threw me a lifeline and started inviting me to go to shows and make tapes. And so that was like really like the life-changing thing for me, because I think like I was doing a lot of creative stuff, but it really was in a vacuum. This is like, I'm like 15, 16, 17, like doing all this stuff, but not really feeling like it was it was all self-contained. It was like I lived in this little bubble world of my creativity, but I didn't know where it was supposed to take me. And when I started going to shows, that would have been like 1984 in Washington D.C. So it was like the turn of it was a transitional time for the DC punk scene, I think, because Minor Threat had just broken up. Like I missed them by like 2 weeks.
Oh,
wow.
And there was a kind of a like vacuum of like the first wave of stuff had kind of fallen apart or was in the middle of falling apart, and all those people were sort of moving into a stage of things which become the kind of revolution summer generation of the punk music. But so I started going to shows, and the thing that really struck me was just like everybody was weirdos and nobody was waiting for permission to do anything.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and it was exciting and strange. And I was out of my parents' house and I had friends and I was stoked. So I was just like, this is where I got to be. And so the first rock and roll music that I really got into was all the things that my friends were calling punk, which was great that I had a friend group with a very eclectic taste.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like Bauhaus and Madness and like Joy Division and all the sort of local DC bands, and anything that was, anytime that I remember like my first experience of seeing records that people made, that weren't records you could get in the store. Like you had to buy it from the band at the show, or you had to go to like the weird local record store and somebody had put it in a plastic bag. It was like it was put together by people that you could meet, that I just like it was just, I mean, it's still awesome to me, so that was pretty much it. So I just started getting really into like anything that was weird and local. And then also other scenes, because the other thing was my friends were all, they had been going to shows a lot longer than me. So it's like I couldn't surprise anybody. I couldn't go like, hey, did you hear this? They knew all these bands.
Yeah.
So I started looking far afield. And I got into a lot of Midwestern bands because I had sort of, I don't know exactly why. I think because it was stuff that people didn't know as well. There were a couple of really great independent record stores that time, and of course you had to go to the store and buy the record, like take a chance on the record. So I would do like you'd buy the record and look in the thank you list and see if they name checked other bands, and go be like, well, I like this record and these guys on this record like this band good too, all that kind of like sleuthing. So I got super into a lot of Midwestern kind of homestead records, which would have been like Effigies, Naked Ray Gun, Big Black.
Out of Chicago.
Yeah, it was just kind of like I didn't start listening to like normal rock and roll, I think, until I was like 20 or 21. And I sort of had to grudgingly admit that Led Zeppelin's good. Like, the drummer's pretty great, and actually those riffs are pretty awesome.
Right.
Take or leave the vocals, but
Go back to just I'm just curious about the magnet program, because I don't even know if those are a thing anymore. They were in Dayton, as I grew up in Dayton area, and I was part of the magnet program, and I don't know how I got into the art program because I'm definitely not good now. Is that still a thing in the DC area that they have magnet schools and specialized stuff?
I think so. I mean, I'm really fortunate. I'm grateful for where I grew up, because even though like my family was not remotely affluent, my dad was a car salesman, but the county that I grew up in is one of the more affluent counties in Maryland.
Okay.
And so and I grew up at a time when there was significant investment in public education.
Yeah.
So in Montgomery County, there were magnet programs. I mean, there are still, I know in Baltimore, where I live now, there are magnet programs. I know more about that. It's different though. I mean, I think there definitely are. There are schools that there's a school here called But that's what it was like. Like for me, I was just drawing all the time and doing these little short claymation films and stuff. So my mom, it actually was at the school that I was already going to go to, the high school I was already going. So my mom was just like, you should just get in this program. And I got a portfolio. I got a portfolio together. I had to do an interview and like all the rest of that stuff. But it was amazing. I mean, it was really like, you know, I know that they still exist, but I'm sure that it's not like it was.
Yeah.
Like, and I bet it wasn't. It was real. I was really lucky where I grew up. There were opportunities.
Yeah.
You know, in public.
So was art a big part of your family life then? Was your mom or
No.
was your dad? No.
No, I mean my mom. My mom, I think, had a lot of. I think my mom had a very creative youth, but she never talked about it. She was a particularly troubled person, and I think among her many issues, one thing that was always true is like, I think she had a kind of a wild youth where she did a lot of creative stuff. I know she like sang with the jazz band and stuff. And then at a certain point, she settled down, and then we don't talk about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think she's from a generation that was like that. Like when are you going to really settle down? You know, she would always sort of let slip about it. But I never knew her to like, you know, do any drawing. She would, if I remember correctly, but she sort of left all that stuff behind for me.
Yeah.
Resentful that she felt.
But she was encouraging for you to pursue it, and
she was super encouraging.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
she was I think she lived vicariously through me. You know, the fact that I was like so on fire about visual art. I think both my parents were super supportive when I started playing in band. I mean, they were always.
you're breaking
Yeah.
up
Do we need
quite
to
a
like
bit.
let's hit pause just a second.
We don't
Yeah.
want to lose
Yeah.
this.
Oh,
This
you
is so good.
Oh,
What's your favorite Orson Welles movie?
Sprinkle wants to know.
Sprinkle's our
Sprinkle's a
in-house
film guy.
film buff.
Oh, cool. What do you? Well, don't tell me what it is, but do you have a favorite?
Do you have a favorite?
He said, "Don't tell him
Here.
what it is." Here,
Here,
Sprinkle,
grab
come on down.
I do have a favorite. Last year for my birthday, I rented out a local theater and I made my friends watch A Touch of Evil.
Damn. I love that.
It was really cool on the big screen.
Touch of Evil is great. Have you seen his film of The Trial starring Anthony Perkins?
It's on the list. Looks
That
fantastic.
might be my favorite. That might be the top for me.
I really like. I love F for Fake. I've shown that to so many people now. It's such a just clever little film.
I
Awesome.
mean, he's Orson Welles.
It's
Mwah.
crazy.
Just like seriously.
And then you go and watch Citizen Kane, and it's like actually the best movie.
Wait, what is
Citizen.
Citizen Kane.
Citizen Kane? Do you know that podcast? What's it called? What Went Wrong?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
It's good. It's a pretty fun podcast, and the best thing about it to me is like we'll listen to it on tour sometimes, and it's two people who work in Hollywood now, and they're both sort of writers or in some kind of production journeyman type production jobs, and so they'll talk about. And a lot of initially was like movies that were famous flops, like Heaven's Gate or like Battlefield Earth or whatever.
Yeah.
But they've moved on and talk about all sorts of movies, even ones that were successful, but it's all this behind the scenes shit. And the coolest thing was they did an episode about Citizen Kane. And it was so cool because it's a man and a woman. And the guy was like, he was like a total boffin about it. He was just like, had all his facts like on hand and was like a super like on the team. And the woman was like, I never watched this movie because my mom said it was the greatest movie ever made, and that just made me feel like I knew it would be boring as shit. and then like, but so I watched it because I knew we were going to talk about it, and damn, it's really good. And that was like the coolest thing to me. She was just like, it's so good. And then like to hear people come at it with like fresh eyes and be like, look at all the shit that they did that's absolutely timeless and like amazing looking. Like it's so contemporary. It's so like,
Yeah,
it's not like an old movie. It's like an eternal movie.
it's crazy. He's like inventing new things with a camera, like as he's making a movie, and it's his first movie too.
Do you know about, there's another thing he did called Moby Dick Rehearsed.
No.
This was
That-
like a play.
It was like a theater thing, yeah.
Yeah. And I actually got to see a production of it, and it was so badass because it's basically like, I mean, you gotta be on the team for it a little bit.
Yeah.
You gotta be prepared to enjoy a theater experience anyway. But I seriously thought it was so cool because it's basically like the cast of this play, like this troupe is waiting around for the theater director to come in, and they don't know what they're going to be doing. And he comes in and he's like, you know, they're getting ready to, they're rehearsing for a production of Moby Dick, but it draws this parallel between this, like the crazy theater director and the actors, and there's no set. And it's just like, you're kind of like on the floor with the actors, and you're kind of in the middle of the Moby Dick story. And the storytelling of this play is so strong, and it becomes immersive. And if they do it right, you just, like, with no set and no costumes and no production, it's like you're in the story in this like really visceral way. And it also has this other layer of being like a kind of, it's very meta, you know,
Yeah.
from like, he was like in his 20s.
It's wild. He had so much
Yeah.
talent.
Do you think that comes from? I know this isn't what we're talking about, but do you think that comes from?
Oh, it is what we're
Well,
talking
it is
about
what
now.
it's-
So whatever we want to talk.
But do you think
It
that
is.
comes from the radio programs and telling the stories through the radio programs and that aspect of it?
I think he just seems like he was a child prodigy, and I think he was always going to be a kind of a visual storyteller.
So Orson Welles.
Yeah. Well, Orson Welles.
How
Orson Welles.
often do you get on podcasts that they get you into Orson Welles conversation?
I don't know. I could go there. It doesn't take much.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. See, and that's
Yeah.
for me anyway. This podcast is just people's lives. You know, people talk. You know,
What are you
music.
interested
Music.
in?
Yeah, music is a great medium, but just talking about where people come from and what sparks interest in them and stuff. That to me, that's what this is all about, and getting to know people.
Yeah.
But it's also like, I mean, it's creativity generally, right? It's
Right.
like I've been thinking about this a lot in relation to, it's come up a lot kind of everywhere I look in relation to AI and like all this bullshit that we're people, you know, that the powers are that be are trying to drag us into. But like the impulse to create something, you know, to sort of like take in your experience and the landscape around you and your relationships and whatever you're going through, and make something, if it's like visual art or it's a song or, you know, whatever it is, like that's just like, and it's sort of inherently quote unquote useless, right? It's not like you can't quantify, you know, what is a song or a movie good for. But it's not just entertainment. It's not just it's not just like taking the pressure off for a couple hours, right?
Right.
It's like, when something is real, and it's comes from within a person or a group of people, you know, like it's just essential. It's like, that's part of making connections, and everybody figuring out a way to make sense out of a senseless world.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, I realize I'm, you know, like all quite grandiose, but it's the thing. Like, it's like music is essential for that reason, and loads of people can just, you know, I mean, I grew up in a you know, not, I mean, you know, like I said, my parents were always very supportive of what I did, but my parents were steeped in a culture that's like, you know, and other people in my family were very much like, yeah, that's nice that you're doing this. What are you going to really do?
Yeah.
Because this thing you're doing is everybody knows it's just kind of a useless waste of time. Like, get real, you know.
Yeah.
But in fact, it's, of course, it's like, it's one of the most essential things that people can do. And that's why, like, you know, like I like having scenes for all the irritating things that can be about scenes, and how a music scene can be like high school and all the rest of that garbage. Like, essentially, scenes are great. That's just like connecting tissue that, like, that brings people together in a common experience, and things happen, you know, that are important in people's lives. And that's like, so yeah, I mean,
It's real life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and like you said, you found your people when you started going to the magnet school, and they took you on a journey. You know, that's, to me, that's amazing. And that's Shawn and I was 13 years old. We were in our first band together, and it opened up so much of the world to me, which was amazing. So it's awesome to hear that was part of your life.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Like, I don't know where I would be if I hadn't found those people, and then if I hadn't had the good fortune to, like, you know, get into the shit that I ultimately got into. I mean, so, you know, I tried out for Government Issue was one of my first favorite bands. It was the first big show that I went to was Government Issue, TSOL, Marginal Man, and STD from maybe Nashville they were from. I don't know. But anyway, it was at Wilson Center, and I was like a crazy Government Issue fan. I love them. And when I tried out, like, I thought it wasn't like a joke that I tried out, but I tried out. We went into a friend and I went into the punk rock record store in Georgetown in D.C., and there was a flyer taped to the cash register. It said Government Issue needs a bass player. And at this point, it was like almost like a little bit of a running joke in D.C. because Government Issue seemed to have a different bass player every week. Like, I don't think there are two. I think the only two Government Issue records with the same bass player are the ones that I'm on.
Really?
So maybe that might not be true, but that is essentially true. Like, so, and I had no idea. I had a bass, but I had no, you know, I was in my bedroom learning Joy Division bass lines. I never played with anybody. And so I took the little phone number tab off the flyer, and I was totally like, this would be hilarious if I tried out for Government Issue. Like, what if there's no way I'm going to get in. Like, but wouldn't it be like, that would be the craziest thing I could do, is like take this phone number and call it and go try out for Government Issue. And I fucking got in.
That's amazing. So was bass your first instrument?
Yeah. I mean, other than playing, like, we had a piano, so I played a lot of piano when I was younger, which I think was a lot of like learning stuff off of movie soundtracks, honestly. So, which was really good ear training, because a lot of those composers use really interesting voicings. Like, they harmonize things in interesting ways to kind of get different emotional resonance out of things. And I would always, anytime you'd get like a weird harmony, my ear would always go like, ooh, what's happening there? That's the cool shit. And so I would try and figure it out. So I didn't have any formal education on piano, but because there was one in the house, I could like put records on and try and transcribe stuff by ear. So I trained my ear. I got really good ear training just because I was interested.
Yeah.
But bass is the first sort of, you know, like band instrument that I picked up where I could go to somebody's house with it and be like, let's jam. And, you know.
Tell us about that tryout. You're going in there cold. What does that feel like?
It was crazy. I was like a deer in headlights. The funny thing to me was that their practice space was actually only about 10 minutes from my house. So it was in the, because I had an idea. I had a very suburban 1980s idea about the city, and like kids, like where I was like, oh, well, the real DC punk bands are in the city and they have this kind of urban, like crazy lifestyle that I don't know anything about. But in fact, GIs were a suburban band, and John Stab lived 10 minutes from my house. I could like, in a, suburban development, and they practiced in the basement of this group house. And I went over, and my bass was a Fender Music Master, which is like a student bass. Uh-huh. So it's short scale. But I didn't know. I just was like, it's my bass. Right. I had no idea that it was any different from anything. And so I took that, and I had this, I had a Fender, I feel like it was a Bassman that I had. But anyway, that already was really funny, because Tom Lyle, the GI's guitarist, routinely, I mean, he had like a Marshall full stack and a half stack. Oh, so it's like, I don't think anyone could hear me in the practice space.
Was that to your benefit?
It was no contest, but I had to put in a lot of time trying to learn the songs, and I think I knew them. I didn't fuck them up.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was a case of like, I was a lot younger than those guys. I was, I guess, 18 or 19, and they were all in their mid 20s. And I don't know if they thought I was just somebody that they were like, oh, here's a kid, we can mold him,
yeah,
or what. But I mean, there it is. I got in, so I was like, fuck yeah, dude. That coming,
Yeah.
Right.
So, and then we went on tour in Europe for 8 weeks.
Oh,
so,
my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah.
At that young, wow.
Talking,
so do you think that
that's
was the pivotal moment in your career? I mean, you've had a long career since then, but like, I can do this, and now, like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a musician.
Oh, yeah. I can't imagine what my life would be. I mean, I can't imagine what I would have done otherwise. I mean, I went to film school at NYU for a semester, but in that time I figured out that I was not as serious about making films as all the other people who were at NYU Film School. and I really wanted to do is be in a band, but I didn't know how. But then I was home for the summer, and I saw that flyer, and I was like, that would just be too wild. But no chance that's going to happen. But why didn't I call this number? But I don't. I can't imagine what I would be doing otherwise. That's absolutely. I mean, that's an inflection point in my life for sure.
Oh yeah, huge.
Was that the first time you had been to Europe then, with them?
Oh yeah,
that's.
Yeah, I never went. I never went. I never went. Yeah.
What did your parents think of that when you went home and said, "Hey, I'm going to Europe for 8 weeks on tour"?
Yeah, they were pretty stoked.
Oh, that's awesome. That is so good.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they were worried too, but I think they were worried too, but
So you did 2 albums with Government Mule?
Government Issue. You guys keep...
Yeah, sorry, I know. I know. Sorry.
That is a different...
It's a whole different... Yeah, sorry.
Different thing altogether in many ways.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That was Leo thing.
But yeah, we made 2 albums, and we did some other stuff too. We released a couple of we released some EPs and did stuff for comps and stuff. So we recorded a bit, but we did 2 albums.
Okay.
And then, but that band, Government Issue, formed in, I want to say maybe 1980. And I was the bass player between late 85 and fall of 88, I guess.
Oh, wow.
And then So I was the longest tenured bass player in that band. But at that point, you know, for Tom and John had been going at it for a long time, and I think they both felt pretty burnt.
Yeah.
And they were, you know, sort of getting into their late 20s and feeling, I mean, I remember being, you know, when I tried out, I was like, I guess I was 19, but I remember being, you know, when I was talking to them after the rehearsal, in the back of my mind thinking like, whoa, these dudes are like 24. I don't know how much longer they're going.
Yeah.
So old.
I'm not going to be, I'm 24. I'm going to go, I'll do this for a couple of years and go back to school, you know, but little did I know,
There you go.
you know.
That you wanted to form another band.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Meet Me in the City, sponsored by Twisted River Coffee Roaster. Twisted River offers an unpretentious approach to specialty coffee. Visit twistedrivercoffee.com and use promo code INTHECITY at checkout to receive a one-time discount of 10% off your entire order. So what came after Government Issue for you?
Well, Jawbox was the first band that I formed that where I was like, I'm going to, because one thing that happened for me was I was in GIs. That was really awesome. And one thing that was great about them was they were always very open to like, you know, if you're in the band, bring ideas and we'll work on them. We'll turn them into songs. So I was writing on the bass a lot. And a lot of what I wrote would get turned into songs, but I wouldn't always have an idea. I always wanted to have an idea of the whole song and show the song.
Yeah.
And I was always working toward that. And it was very hard to like have a vision of the song on bass and have everybody understand what I was hearing in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know, and also John, the singer, he was very, he just had a very specific way of coming at songs, and he wasn't like a deeply musical person. He was more like, it was more about like this pure expression of who he was, but it wasn't like he wasn't really interested in being a musician. And I always loved to sing. Like one thing that like Pete, who played drums in GIs, who plays drums with me now, he and I would always like we worked up harmonies. We would always like work on singing together. It was really fun. And I loved to sing. So I was in this band kind of thinking like, you know, I'd love to sing and I like to write songs and guitar, you know, I like sort of feeling like that would be the next thing to do. And then also when GIs broke up, I was in I played bass in Scream for about 2 months when, Skeeter Thompson had quit the band and they had a tour already booked, and they were also one of my favorite bands. And I ended up subbing with them for a couple of months. But at that point I was kind of like, am I just like this young dude that joins old dude bands? Like, is that like, and sort of wondering like if that's, you know, when I was looking at the examples of I mean, it seems ridiculous. I feel silly saying this, but when I was looking at the examples of my sort of punk heroes and people that I looked up to, it was always like they made something from nothing. You know, they did their kind of like work from scratch with their friends. Mm-hmm. And so I was kind of like, all those things together, I was kind of like I kind of want to start a band. I want to start my own band instead of being someone who just jumps into things that are already established. And it was fortunate that I was dating Kim Coletta at that time, and she was a bass player, but she had never played in a band. And I knew Adam Wade, who was a really good drummer, who I knew from my school days, and he wasn't doing anything. So I was like, okay, this is the band. And Kim was quite driven too, so that was really cool. Like she was like, all right, let's do this band, let's make it happen. So so Jawbox was basically the result of all those relationships and that, you know, coming out of those other experiences and wanting to sing and play guitar in a band.
Yeah.
And so you
And
wrote most of the stuff. Is that true? Like a lot of it?
What's that?
You wrote a lot of the songs for Jawbox. I mean, I think you collaborated some, but you were the main the songwriter for Jawbox.
The first couple Jawbox records. Well, no, I mean, Jawbox was always a pretty collaborative band.
Oh,
okay. But early on, like I was, it was important to me to figure out the right way for songs to come together, and so generally, either we would be playing songs that I more or less brought the parts, and then we had to kind of hash it out and hear what sounded good, or it would be a case of like Kim had a bass line and we jam on it, and then we'd all kind of figure it out. And in the end, usually I was the kind of traffic cop of the arrangements because I was the one that was going to sing on it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I mean, in the Adam Wade era, when Adam was our drummer, our first drummer, it was much more like, you know, he would tend to put the drums to the music that had been written, kind of. And then when he left and Zach Barocas joined the band, it became much more collaborative because Zach was much more of a composer on the drum kit. And a lot of times when we would go down to practice, he would already have a rhythm. He would have a beat that was quite idiosyncratic, and everyone would have to find a way to fit their ideas around his rhythmic thing. It was much more rare for me to, you know, I mean, I may be off trying to write a whole song, but if I did that and I brought it to a Jawbox practice, there's a very high probability that it would get not thrown out, but just twisted around into a shape that mostly would essentially be a new song, a different song.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So, which was a pretty cool process and really good way of. It was very educational in terms of like opening up my mind about thinking about music, like construction of how to put things together, you know?
Yeah.
So
what's amazing is that's your first band you put together. You know, you're saying that and I'm like, wow, that is like you hit a home run right out of the gate.
Well, we were together a long time. We were together 8 years, you know?
Yeah.
Sure, everybody listens to their, I mean, this is the thing that's fascinating to me. Also, it's like, I feel like maybe this isn't true for everybody, but I think it must be true that like anyone who's been in bands and made records, especially if they started when they were young, if you listen to what you did when you were 20, you're kind of like, I know who we were trying to rip off there, and I wish we hadn't let the bass player talk us into adding that extra part that he came up with. You know, like you hear the growth process in it, and you're like, I mean, that's how I am about a lot of the Jawbox stuff. I'm just like, I know what we were listening to that week. I was there when everybody was too tired to do another take, or we were running out of time, or like, why is that, you know, why did we decide this was going to be this way or whatever it, you know, but I guess the point that I would make is like a lot of my favorite records, the records that kind of changed my life, if I listen to them, I can hear that. I kind of wonder about those bands, you know, when you hear bands that like, you hear songs that are just like, you know, songs that I mean, I'm not going to be able to name any off the top of my head, but I know, I mean, if I had some time to go digging, I could come back and give you like a list, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like a song that was just like you heard it when you were younger and you're like, fuck yes. And then you kind of think about it and one weird part jammed into another weird part, and they don't really go, and the guitar's kind of out of tune, and the singing's sloppy, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like it's like everybody's learning process could still create something that works for somebody else, you know, or like I mean, I don't know. I mean, I spend a lot of time thinking about this kind of shit in a way that is probably doesn't translate that way. But okay, like Dead Kennedys.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Dead Kennedys. So fresh fruit for rotting vegetables. Timeless classic, great record. Actually, like pretty impeccably constructed songs. But Dead Kennedys have a lot of songs after that that are just like, what the fuck? Like, why would you put this music together in this way? But it's just an opportunity for Jello to rant. And he's really funny, and it's cool and it's entertaining. And some of those records are classic, but they're musically insane and nonsensical.
Yeah.
And it's like, but you know what? It worked for a lot of people, including Teenage J, you know, like, so I just think about that. Or Black Flag's another one. I'm just like, Black Flag is just like a classic example of like, you know, fucking, you hack the fucking tusks off a boar and the legs off another animal and the fucking
glue them together.
You know, middle part of something, stitch it together, and you're like, here's my fucking song. So, and it works. It's great. So I just think like, you know, I mean, I'm glad that people I'm glad that anyone listens to anything that I ever did and that it works for them.
Do you think part of that is because of the, I mean, you're even Jawbox by the time you get around with them, punk is still kind of in it, not it's in its infancy, but there's just a rawness to it. And do you think that has anything to do with it, that people were just trying things at that time? Those bands, at least you're referencing, who were early.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think if I think about bands that are contemporaries of the 90s and bands that I was really excited about in the 80s, and weird bands from before that in the 70s and even going back to the 60s, you know, when you like start getting into like, I mean, you know, when you become a music fan and when you are a music fan, and particularly if you get excited about something that's like kind of underground and weird, and you have to go digging, and then you're like, oh, what else is there? You know, you're like, oh, well, there's Iggy and the Stooges, and then there's like, but there's also Blue Cheer, and then when you go back before that, there's this other thing, and like, you know, or Death, or whoever you would find, that it's like that thread of creativity and weirdness and jamming things together that don't work because you just got to make something, you know, and then you make them work. Like, I think that informed a lot of, I mean, I think we were making an effort to be a relatively slick band in a way, by comparison to some other bands that we knew who were quite inspirational and were much more wild, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but I mean, but it's funny to think of it like, I guess if you think that, you know, there is still such thing as punk, although it's pretty hard to define, because I would think of it like an energetic thing rather than a musical genre. Anymore.
Yeah.
But I guess things are just, it's just so much inherently easier to make things slick now.
Yeah.
And to sort of present them in a more, a more obviously better organized format, that it's like, you know, I mean, Jawbox was never, I think we were always striving to have like an energy and a propulsiveness, but I think we were judicious about chaos, You know, like we wanted to have enough in there to make things exciting, but we also wanted to always have a really solid foundation. And I know there were other bands that were super exciting that were much more like, you know, the solid foundation can remain implied, and the you know, the flying sparks is what we want, you know.
Right.
So so yeah. I mean,
when I think of
but,
Jawbox,
yeah.
I mean, you had killer melodies, right? I mean, your melodies were just, the music was amazing, but on top of that, you had really great melodies with really good lyrics. And so you kind of took this energy, but then you had this catchy side to it, which I know we agree with that.
Oh, yeah.
And this side is like, you're just taking everything and putting it into a powerful, you know.
You have the energy, but on top of that energy, you have
great
these,
songs.
Yeah, very well crafted songs.
Well, I that's very nice of you to say that. I appreciate that greatly.
I mean, it's awesome that you said that you guys were intentionally kind of about that, trying to do that, which I respect that highly.
I mean, I think so. I mean, there's a big element in which I think we were just trying to put something together that we would want to hear, and it would be very hard to. I think in the moment, it would have been very hard to articulate what that was.
Yeah.
But I know that, like, I know the things that, like, I know the bands that inspired us the most when we started Jawbox, you know, and that would have been like Husker Du and Moving Targets, and then some of these, you know, more like, and basically, like, you know, a lot of DC bands, if it was Right to Spring or Soulside or whoever. So there was always an element of, like, you know, like, I mean, Husker Du is a perfect example of, like, I mean, I remember hearing, you guys know their cover of 8 Miles High by the Byrds. Husker Du did a cover of it.
No, I don't think I know that one.
Do you know?
I know the song.
It's a incredible version, and I remember hearing it. It's the first Husker Du record that I ever heard, and it really sounds like they're just setting themselves on fire. Like, it's but the song is there too, you know.
Yeah.
Like that song, like the thing, that the inherent thing that makes the song great, the original, you know, Roger McGuinn song, it's still there, but it really is like, it's there behind this, like, wall of fucking fire. And it's like, it's such a I mean, I remember hearing it and just being like, it made me feel a certain way that I was just like I want to feel that way. Like, it has this mystery and, like, emotion, and the melody's there, even though it's kind of also partly screamed, and the guitars are like I mean, it's pretty amazing, at least. And it definitely, for, you know, that's like an inspirational, like, touchstone. But then, you know, also it's also just like, you're just like anybody, you start doing something and then you're, like, learning how to do it on the fly, and then you're trying to get better at it, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I wondered, because I've heard you in an interview I was reading, preparation for this. You'd mentioned in that interview some of the orchestral stuff that you listened to. You mentioned this evening earlier. I mean, does that stuff play into how you thought about arranging music? And I mean, do you think that has any influence on you, that early stuff that you listened to?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah, hugely. But I remember it being hard to be like the things that I loved to hear in, like, those kind of settings, like the things that really floated my boat, didn't necessarily translate well to, like, an electric guitar.
Sure.
But then if you figure out kind of but part of it is just like learning to believe that something will work. This is another thing that's fascinating for me always, is like the level of like the degree of like actually just, you know, that you make a thing and you invest a certain amount of belief in it. Like for me, I would always be a harsh critic from the get-go. That was why it was always very hard for me, and still is. Like, I'm terrible at writing lyrics, makes me insane, because I literally get the pen out and then I'm like, okay, Leonard Cohen, show us what you got. And I'm just like, all right. So, but yeah, I mean, it does, because it's like when you hear something and you're just like, especially on a musical level, but also with lyrics too, but on a musical level where you're like something that tweaks your ear and you're like, it's like a little bit wrong, but it kind of pulls you in a certain way. And then maybe it resolves and you feel a feeling, you've gone through something and you're like, for me, I was always like, I want to know how to do that. How do I make that happen? You know? And then it's more, I think the more you do it, if you get to a point of belief in what you're doing, then it becomes slightly easier to you have to believe it at least enough to execute it, to then later on figure out if it actually works or not.
Right.
So
you've already given us a lot of time, and we're barely into job ops at this point.
A lot to get.
So I want to do a couple things here. I want to tee up a question for you, because we had the Orson Welles conversation. Obviously, that struck a chord, and so like what is something you don't get to talk about when you talk to people on podcasts that you like just spins your wheels? Because obviously, film and going back to that art school stuff, there's something there that, and obviously Sprinkle. Anytime anybody mentions film, anything, he's always curious. Like, what are they into? Are there things that you don't get to talk about that when people invite you on? I mean, I know that we want to talk about your records and music, and I want to talk about Beavis and Butthead and get to all that. But
no, I'm whatever. I'm just you guys are. It's nice of you to invite me on. So I'm not.
Okay.
Well, I had a question, kind of the reverse of that.
I feel like you didn't bargain for an Orson Welles conversation or
we love that.
Talking modal harmony or whatever, so
that's amazing to me. That, I guess, Shawn said he has a question, but I guess for me is, how does that, you at the age of 14, 15, are you still holding on to some of that to put into your music and to put into what you're putting out there? Is there still some of that young Jay in there?
I think so. I hope so. I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's weird. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but I mean, I think it's pretty normal for anybody, kind of, because I'm going to be 59 in June, and I'm like,
we're close in age. Yeah.
And I have a lot of friends who I've known. My close friends are, a lot of them are people that I've known since I was 16, and I think that we all still feel like that's the same person is in there,
Mm-hmm.
like it's not like a different person. It's like the thing that made you, because you want to remain, curious, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's, So, no, for sure. I mean, I'm glad I'm not just that same person.
Sure.
Sure. Or the same person I was in my 20s, or, whatever. It's like 20s are a terrible time.
Oh man, they're hard, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My question, because
I'm
sorry.
I think it's.
Go.
Yeah.
So you're talking, I wanted to go back a minute to kind of the scene, and, you know, Discord was a part of that, obviously, and the DC scene. We're really big into scenes. Like Dayton has had they still do. They have a music scene. What was the scene like in DC when you started going to shows, then you started playing in bands? Was it a supportive community? Was everybody behind each other? Tell us a little bit about that. Yeah, competitive. Yeah. And then you formed Jawbox, you guys. And so what was that support like in the scene there?
I think that it's all of those things. I can't speak for anybody else's experience, but I think that in my experience, the scene in DC that I grew up into and grew up through was kind of all of those things. Like, it was very supportive. There was tremendous kind of local pride,
Yeah,
sure.
But it also was competitive in ways that could be healthy and unhealthy, and it was cliquish. Yeah. It was infamous cliquish. Really? But I mean, I think, on balance, like there was at the time that I joined Government Issue, like for a lot of people, Government Issue was not a cool band anymore, because it was a band that stayed together, whereas it was more typical for bands in DC to break up when somebody left the band. An individual leaves the band just breaks up. That's one thing. Government Issue, bass player leaves, get another bass player, there was an era of like when it was a very tight knit scene, and this was before I started going to shows, but it was a very small, very tight knit scene, and all those people were discovering a kind of a thing together, and then they were growing through it, and then they were kind of growing out of it, and then another generation, it gets captured by the idea of like DC hardcore or whatever, but all the original people have kind of moved on and they want to expand what they're doing, but it's always fiercely independent, and everybody, like, it's, I mean, it's a scene. A scene is never just one thing, but but I think there was always a sense of real investment that, like, especially because at that time, I mean, I've heard Ian MacKay talk about this a lot, and other people from that first wave of DC hardcore. And I remember it being a kid. It's like, if you were in the arts, if you were making music or doing anything creative, like, it's a foregone conclusion you were going to move to one of the big creative cities. You were like, why would you stay in DC? DC is the government town, and there's nothing really here. Like, you're going to move to New York, make it in the music biz, or move to LA so you can be a star or whatever, right? Yeah. And of course that was never what any of the Discord stuff was about. It was about, like, look, right here, we made this thing. We're all making this thing, and we're going to chronicle it, and it's our thing, and we don't have to do it. There's all these assumptions about the way that you're supposed to do it. Well, why do those assumptions exist? Why? There's no reason. Why don't we just do the thing that we're doing here? This is one of the things that was so inspiring about it. It was just like, no, you don't have to go like, learn the secret handshake. You just do the fucking thing. It's not that hard.
Just put it out.
Do the thing.
Yeah.
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 So that, that was always very much at the core of it. But, it's like, you get a lot of young people who are passionate about things. Like, some people are going to, there's all sorts of ways people can behave,
Right.
So it's that's part of what makes scenes, so rich.
So I like that, Rich.
I'm curious, because DC and Dayton have sort of an analog in that before the hardcore scene, indie scene, whatever you want to call it, coming out of DC, however you want to label it, there's also like the whole go-go and funk scene had bubbled up in the DC area. Dayton, we have funk is obviously in the water here, and then the alternative scene really starts to bubble up in the 80s and into the 90s. Did you guys, as musicians playing out, did you feel any kind of, I don't know, residuals from the funk stuff? Because I think in Dayton we feel it just because everybody knows there are known quantities from here. You know, Roger Troutman and all the different bands you can name that were funk bands. Did you guys feel that at all in DC in that area, or was it even a thing?
I think there was an effort to connect the punk underground with the go-go underground. I think people repeatedly made efforts to, like, you know, to connect those scenes, because the homegrown kind of independent, like, undergroundness, even though they were different scenes,
Sure,
they were both like vital undergrounds. And so I think periodically people would try and connect those scenes, and they would do like punk funk, you know, mashup shows, like Minor Threat's last show famously was Minor Threat, Big Boys, and Trouble Funk. And I mean, I think it was, I don't think it's quite the same, though, because also musically it's radically different, because go-go is just a continuous groove, and so much about having a party that just goes on and on. You know, it's like and musically are such little bursts, you know. So I don't know. I mean, I think there probably was a lot of mutual respect, but I don't. Yeah, it's hard for me to say. Also, because you know, all of that stuff is from the kind of foundation of DC punk, and that's, you know, I was not there.
Yeah,
right. I'm a suburban poser.
So you said you had some not rapid fire, but
not even rapid fire. I do. I mean, I know you've probably answered this question a million times, but as teenage Will would be mad with older Will if I didn't ask about the Beavis and Butthead stuff. Did you guys? I mean, did you know about it before you guys were on there? Did they tip you off that the video was going to be on?
Mm-hmm. I can't remember, honestly. I can't remember. I don't think we knew. I think it was a surprise to us.
Yeah. Well, I was talking with somebody else today, and it was Joe. I ran into Joe Anderl today, and was telling him that we were going to talk with you tonight, and we talked about that video being on, and they were positive about your music, which they weren't always positive every video that they danced to.
They were positive about the surreal imagery in the video.
Yeah,
that's what they really.
Fair enough.
But you know, I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, it's still. I mean, it's a cool thing. I think just remembering back that you guys were on there.
There is a lot to
still go.
There's
too much.
You have such a long career, not only in music but in producing and engineering. We haven't even touched it. And your solo stuff, which we like a lot. Yeah. I mean, your solo records
were just jamming out
great.
to that in right before you came on. So,
yeah. And you'll be playing in Cincinnati here coming up this fall, opening up, right, for Sugar?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you just get back from Japan? I had that as a question. Were you just in Japan?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, the somewhat pragmatically named J. Robbins band just went to Japan for a week. We got back April 14th.
Oh, wow.
It was fucking awesome.
I bet it was.
I mean, so big shock there.
Yeah.
It was great to go. Yeah, no, it was amazing. And there's sort of a long story behind it, because Burning Airlines, the band that I formed after Jawbox, actually went to Japan twice, and we made some good friends. And so it was nice because this tour, so Pete Moffat, who I first met when we played together in Government Issue, he was the drummer in Burning Airlines, and he now plays drums with me in this band. And so it was super cool. It was like a real sweet, like, reunion thing to go back and see people that we hadn't seen in 25 years. And we loved the tours that we did. Tours that Burning Airlines did in Japan were like such a big deal for us, like real, like, you know, lifetime memory type things. And so I didn't know that I would get to go back, but it was through our friend George, who was somebody that we met when we went over the first time. He was pivotal in helping make this tour happen. And we got to tour with his band Storm of Void, who are really great. And we're super, like, just like a really great kind of heavy, mostly instrumental band. The drummer used to play in that band Envy. And really, really like they're kind of mathy, but they're not that mathy. They're just mathy enough to be like kind of tricksy, but they're like somewhere on a spectrum that incorporates kind of sort of stonery riffs and really smart, clever, but heavy drumming and cool turnarounds and stuff. Like, they're just an awesome band. So
I'll have to check them out.
So that was
Definitely.
really cool to get to tour with them and get to see him again and see some other people that we hadn't seen. And my wife Janet came along. She had never been to Japan, so that was like a cool, you know, that was great to share that with her. And yeah, it was just amazing. I mean, I feel very grateful for all the things that have gone down in the last few years. Have been, I'm really, you know, like getting to tour with Bob Mould a few times, who's like such a hero of mine, and having him be so supportive of my music, and getting just, I mean, a lot of cool things that I didn't really see coming at this point in my life have come to recently, and I'm super grateful for it all. So, but Japan is definitely up there.
That's incredible.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
Someday I'd love to get there. It's on my top places to want to go, and I just want to go record shopping in Japan. The high fidelity and you know, audio culture there is just insane. At least it seems like from afar.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know. Of course, this downside of being on tour is there's only so much time to like sort of really, you know, get into your hobbies. But you know, it's certainly nothing to complain about. But I was really psyched because I, like, for example, like when we played in Osaka, I guess it was after sound check, we were just going to kind of walk around and see what was what. And we walked like 2 doors down from the venue, and there was this weird little shop. And I was looking around in this store. It was like super tiny little store. And then I looked in, and there was a T-shirt with Lung Leg from the cover of that Sonic Youth record. And I was like,
Oh man.
but it isn't, and it isn't like what kind of store is this anyway? And then we went in, and there was a big like Einstürzende Neubauten T-shirt, and Neubauten's really big for me. Like, I'm a big Neubauten fan. And then the dude in the store, who, there were 2 dudes in the store, but the first guy I talked to, like, he didn't speak English, but he came up to me and it was like Neubauten. And I was like, Neubauten. And I showed him my tattoo, wherever it is. And then we were like totally broing down about Einstürzende Neubauten. And then the other guy from the shop, turns out he was like, his English, because my Japanese is terrible, it's basically non-existent, but this dude, his English was really great. And then we just ended up talking about Neubauten for 15 minutes. And I'm like, how wild is it? I'm in Osaka. I just walked down the street, and like, now I'm bonding with this guy over like the new bass player from Neubauten, and the like it was cool. It was nice.
That's cool.
Yeah, that
great.
is.
Really cool.
It's awesome. You have another question, Shawn?
I have a lot of questions, but I don't think we have enough about production, just you being a producer and engineering and all that, but I don't know if we have time to get in that today. I did want to, we talked before we started recording, you had played some shows with Brainiac, and I wanted to kind of bring it home on that is, how did you guys hook up with Brainiac? What were your thoughts about the band?
Do you remember it was only like 3 decades ago?
A long time ago.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what I remember about Brainiac.
Yeah.
I remember loving their records always, not knowing them particularly well, but always liking them when I crossed paths with them.
Uh-huh.
I think the Eli Janney was a big connection because
Yeah.
Eli recorded them.
Uh-huh.
And probably, I feel like maybe we ended up playing shows with them because they also were booked by Lisa Miller, who was a booking agent that worked with Jawbox.
Oh,
So I think
okay.
it was like that sort of like there were a lot of threads in common where between particularly the Eli thing. And then, yeah, I think it's just, but I also think it was a time when a lot of bands, you know, there were a lot of bands and they were a lot of active bands that were like touring all the time. And so you just would cross paths with people. But I think the big connection was Eli and also Lisa.
Yeah.
She booked us and Shudder to Think and Brainiac and a bunch of other bands. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome.
Do you have?
I mean, always been incredible. Like they had that thing of like somehow having the really solid foundation, like the being a band that could deliver this like tightness, but also chaos at the same
Yes.
time.
Yeah, I agree.
And it really,
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I've been listening to the last solo record you put out, I guess, Basilisk, and have been enjoying that. Do you have you been working on any new material? Do you have anything coming down the pike, or are you focusing mainly on production stuff now?
No, I'm trying to do much to my occasional frustration. I'm trying to do everything all at once. So,
And tour.
so yeah, so I've been doing a lot of studio work, which is really great. I've been working on a lot of stuff that I'm super stoked about. I did a record with Sparta last year. And doing a lot of mixed stuff and all that's been really great. I'm at a position now with I have the majority of the recording done for album number 3, and I'm super excited about it. And I'm just running into an epic version of a problem that I've had every time, which is that writing lyrics is like a existential pain in my ass. And because I don't want to just write something. I put a lot of pressure on. So I've basically been kicking the lyric can down the road. It's very, very, very slow. So, but right now I have a playlist with like 18 songs on it. And I think, 10 or 11 of them will be an album, and it's largely recorded. Like,
Wow.
So I just need to, and it's got melodies and everything. I just want to, it's
Right.
just it's time to be a writer. And it really is like, I'm trying to figure out how I need to attack that. So that's the big stumbling block for the record. And I'm like super stoked about it. Musically, I'm super stoked about it. So
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's just I mean, playing. I'm so excited about this Sugar tour. And one thing that I am doing is I made an acoustic record that is just because what's happened before. Like I've toured with Bob Mould playing solo. I've done 3 tours with him now, 3 of his solo tours where I open playing solo, and we've done 1 band tour opening for Bob Mould's band. But on the acoustic shows, I really, really enjoy them, and especially when it feels like there's an actual I can't hide behind a lot of noise. I got to just sing the song, and when it feels like there's an actual connection, it's amazing. And then if I like go to the merch table, and then someone comes up and they're like, "Oh, I never heard you before. That was really cool. What record should I get?" And I'm always like, I have to give a spiel about how my records are not like whatever they just saw. Is not like what.
Right.
I'm like, okay, this is actually like kind of a loud, weird rock record with a really good drummer, but it's not really like what you saw here. And so I'm self-releasing a CD that I can just sell at shows. That is just
very cool.
the acoustics.
Oh man.
Oh, that's cool.
Which was really, really fun to do. And so hopefully I'll have that in time for the Sugar shows.
Oh,
But
awesome.
Well, I definitely plan on coming to see you. At the show,
Yeah.
So
We're only about an hour away, I think, from where you're playing. One question I did have written down that I think you've answered without knowing the question was, what do you find fulfilling about songwriting now? I don't.
Or
well,
unfulfilling.
I mean, everything is fulfilling about it. It's just what's weird is like, because if you're working on a song, I mean, you guys have been in bands, right? So when you're trying with something and you kind of let your guard down and something just shows up and you're like, you don't know where it came from. And then you can kind of follow it down a path where it wants to go. And then next thing you know, you have a song. Like I will never get tired of that. That's like incredible feeling. And usually for me, it's like then now, however long it takes, it's like you can, when you start to be able to hear a song come together, like I can always hear a melody and figure out how to harmonize it. Like those kinds of things are just like fun and enjoyable. And then the thing kind of comes together. But I know other people who are writers first, and I think about people I admire and they're extraordinary writers. And that's like the next, that's like that's what I want to learn. I want to learn to do that. Cause I have written things that I can be happy with. I look back at it, I'm like, oh, like when I get to the end of it, I'm like, and I've done something that I think holds up, then I feel tremendous satisfaction. But the actual process is just endless. So trying to get to a place where I think about writing first instead of that. That's the challenge, and it's just like I don't want to say it's a pain in the ass because I'm really lucky that I've gotten to do so much of it and I can make, keep doing it. But it's hard to it's almost like a change in the way that I think about doing this. And it's a change I really want to make. And it's really hard to get to it,
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
Yeah. But that's good. It's a good problem to have.
right.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you're still out there creating, which is a great thing for everybody who enjoys your art, and we appreciate all the art. Last record, Basilisk, is just fantastic.
Yes.
I think.
thank you so much.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Got it in the mail a few weeks ago, and just really enjoying it. Dan, Shawn, I want to
just thank you for coming on. It's been an honor to meet you.
Yeah, very much so.
It's really cool.
Well, thanks so much for having. It's been really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could just talked about.
Yeah.
For-
Well,
for
we
an hour.
can bring you back on.
Yeah, we'll bring you back on. We'll do that.
Yeah.
Maybe talk about actually some of your production work, and we'll put Sprinkle on the microphone,
You
and
guys can talk film. Hey, we're
Yeah.
gonna do a whole episode on film.
Sprinkle's up for it, I think.
Yeah, he is.
Jay, thanks for hanging in with us on all the technical issues. We got a
Yeah.
storm going outside. Like everything is,
Coming off
everything's
the
felt
rails.
like it's stacked against us. And getting a conversation in with you, and I think we got one in here, and we really enjoyed speaking with you. And good luck here in the future, and hopefully we'll get to see you this fall, opening up for Sugar. Is that going to be? Is that going to be just you solo, or is it the J. Robbins
Yeah.
band?
Solo, cool.
It's
So
just,
we can pick up your CD then when
At
we're
the
there.
show, hopefully.
yeah.
Excellent.
But you will like say hi.
Oh,
Yes,
Yeah,
for sure.
definitely.
For
We'll
sure.
be the fat boys in the back waving at you.
We'll never be whack.
Hey, remember that time we were on a podcast together and you couldn't see us?
I'll be wearing a T-shirt that says "Fighter than frog hair," so you can.
I'll bring old glasses so you guys will be blurry.
Okay, good. I like it. Yeah, very much so. No, seriously, it's been very nice talking with you.
Yeah.
You're very generous.
Yeah.
With your stories, and that to me, we feel like old friends. On this side anyway. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you
Well,
very much.
Back, I appreciate it a lot. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jay,
definitely.
hang tight just while we wrap this up and get it uploaded, and then we'll get you going. Thanks, Jay.
If you want to start again.